Amen. Everybody, welcome to the Let's Get Real program. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. Tonight will be our 17th share, and we are really exploding over here, and we have a very amazing program tonight. From the little bit that I know about it, it's really going to be something special tonight. So everybody strap up and get ready to experience something like you've never experienced before. Right, Rabbi Glaser?
That's right.
That's right. First, I want to thank all of our advertising sponsors, the Lakewood Scoop, for always promoting us here in Lakewood. I would like to thank Chazak, Rabbi Yaniv. They offer programming for children to teens, singles, couples, millennials, baby boomers, and for our cherished seniors. Please visit chazak.org for more information. I'd like to give a special thank you to Mrs. Mika Sofer for always promoting us on COL Live. It's really appreciated. Thank you again. And a really special thanks to Mrs. Chayla Kaufman and Shmuel Summer from JCN, the Jewish Content Network, for always promoting us across all the digital Jewish platforms and really helping this program get to another level. And Shmuel, you're always there with me. And I'd like to get started first tonight with our host, Coach Menachem, to open up with a few words. Coach Menachem, unmute yourself. You're muted.
Now, first of all, good morning, Rabbi Yom Tov.
Good morning. Oh, you're calling it good morning. Yeah, it's very kind of you.
To have a Glaser up so early, for those who know. Okay, everyone, welcome again. Wow, this is show number 17. Kanai Nahara.
Gematria Toiv.
Tonight, I'm really excited, and we'll find out why. The truth is, this show is really becoming more and more real. Like it's called Let's Get Real with Coach Menachem, and all the weeks we had all the knowledge that we learned, and then last week it really became real. We were able to hear somebody from Shalom Rabashkin to actually watch him walk through the darkest places and how he was able to implement the Emunah and Betachon, which was unbelievable. The feedback that we got has not stopped, which was unbelievable. So that's always the question that we have. Baruch Hashem, we live in a world that's Torah, Avodah, and really, it's really beautiful, and we have to thank Hashem for that. The challenge is that when we're thrown into an assignment, when we have a test, that's when sometimes it can get hard to actually live with all the knowledge that we have, all the knowledge that we learned. Like Shlomo Rabashka mentioned last week, everything that he learned in yeshivas, everything that he learned, he was trying to live it. But that's the question. How do we actually live when we're in an assignment? And I believe that tonight we have in front of us, Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser is going to help us out with that, to be able to let in the information. And just by looking at you and listening to your deep voice, it reminds me, I do want to mention to the Olam that I am a proud graduate from the Possible You, and I want to share with the Olam a little bit. The truth is, while I was sitting in the classes, I remember my thoughts. My thoughts were basically that the information is unbelievable and it's good for those who need it. But me, while I was sitting there, my life was really perfect. Baruch Hashem, I grew up in a beautiful family and have to thank my parents, which I believe they're listening. And I thank them for that. Baruch Hashem. And problems, challenges, not really. Somehow Hashem got me into this seminar and I'm sitting in the seminar thinking it's unbelievable, but I didn't resist. I was listening. I did the exercises. I tried to get out of my comfort zone, get some no's with a lot of the information that I picked up. Now, it's been years now, many years, maybe 8, the 8 years that I look back, and I could tell you that the growth and what I had in my life basically started from, I think it started from there. And for those who know me, my life has changed, and it really changed. The before and after is not the same. And I've learned a lot on the way, but the concepts, the seeds, looking back, I believe I got from those 24 hours that I sat and listened to what I thought then was not applicable for me. And here I am. So before I give you back the mic, Usher, obviously it doesn't go on one foot, and it is a process, but hopefully we'll be able to get some seeds planted, get some idea of the whole seminar and everything else that you teach. I would just want to give a little bit of an introduction, the way I understand it, and then you'll take over with your vast knowledge. So the basic idea is that when a person is born like a soft piece of clay, like pure, innocent. The world is open. It's open. There's a big world, and it's open for him, for the innocent child. And with our experiences, we learn certain behaviors and what we call the social norms. This we do, this we don't do. From sitting in the park when the little baby starts eating mulch, and then his mother comes over and takes it out and tells him, "Feh, well, why are you eating the mulch?" And then you continue dancing and singing on top of your lungs till, let's say, first grade. You start looking around and some kids are laughing. And basically it goes on. We pick up all the information, and we pick up what's normal and what's not, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, who am I not. Again, everyone with their own experiences and interaction, whether it's Hasidish, Litvish, Sephardish, wherever you are, the interaction that you have and the experiences, could be you were in town or out of town, we basically become like a hard piece of clay. We create that box, like we're going to call tonight, the story that we tell ourselves, and we get very comfortable inside of it. And we don't really want to come out. We believe this is the way it should be. Some people use Amunah B'Tachon. This is what Hashem wants. This is what my life is destined to be. But the truth is, we're not really living our own life. We're living the life that others have told us to live. And that's where we get into a little bit of a struggle. I just want to end with this. I believe the juice of life is on the other side, is outside of the box, getting out of your comfort zone, and which could be very, very scary. And getting out there and learning more about yourself, and then you won't believe certain things you have never dreamt you can do, or you have never thought that you want to do, and there you are. So I'm giving back the mic, and hopefully Hashem should send us the hatzlacha, and the seeds should go in. And before I give it back, if in middle somebody feels they're falling asleep, which we might have some meditation on the show, you should just know that means it's working. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm up. Okay. Just again, I want to give an overview of tonight. We have Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser. I'm going to give you his full bio because it's a really long one, but it's important to know. A lot of people are asking what the show is about tonight. The general topic of tonight is living the life you wanted to live. And the topic is a lot of people get stuck in their own little story and they don't know how to get out of their story. You ever see guys sometimes that work in a grocery store and you see they have so much potential and they could do so much more, but they don't do it? That's what we're talking about. People that get stuck in that story and they have so much potential, and everybody has potential in them, but how to really, really tune into it and find the inner you and actually take those steps to get to it. And I'm sure Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser is going to give a lot of good examples. Again, Coach Menachem is actually a graduate. He gives seminars all over the world, and people gain tremendous amounts from it. I personally don't know Rabbi Glaser from before, but I watched a few of his shiurim. I was a little bit blown away. I actually like his music also very much. We'll get to it soon, now that it's after the 9 days. And let me give you his bio. Everybody get ready. All around the world. Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser was born in Hollywood, California, where he grew up on the foot of the mountains with the Pacific Ocean nearby. He began surfing at a young age, and it was the son of a surf wear manufacturer. Yom Tov grew up traveling the world on surf travel expeditions. On the days when the waves were small, little Yom Tov took to the hills and became a hardcore mountain biker, another sport that he actively pursues until today. A lover of music, Rabbi Glaser has been playing music professionally over 3 decades. In England, he's known as the Jewish Bob Marley. And on an interesting note, the first time we had our Zoom pre-meeting with Rabbi Glaser, he was doing it from his bike on top of some hill in Israel. We could barely hear him, but he was definitely doing it. While Rabbi Glaser spent the majority of his life surfing and mountain biking, he accumulated vast insights into human character, religion, and alternative spirituality. After receiving a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Georgia in Santa Barbara, he moved to Israel in 1991 to explore his Jewish origins, studying at Aish HaTorah College of Jewish Studies. After 8 years intense study, Rabbi Glaser received smicha. Is that correct? Since 2000, Rabbi Glaser has been a senior rabbi at Aish HaTorah Jerusalem, a master-oriented who had been found lecturing and entertaining for organizations worldwide. Few people can hold crowds attentive as Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser does, regardless of his audience age, level, or observance, or whether digital on Zoom or not. I added that in. In 1999, Rabbi Glaser concluded his training under the top psychologist, Ephraim Svertsky, and since practices spiritual therapy, helping individuals to break through deep emotional, psychological blocks and come closer to God's experience. In 2002, Rabbi Glaser founded an internationally acclaimed Possible You Self-Transformation Seminar, a company with an ever-growing worldwide staff and alumni. Today, Rabbi Yom Tov prays in Meir Sharm in Pinsk Karlin Shul, known for the fact that every word of the service is screamed on top of his lungs. He also is a student of the Hasidic Rebbe, who's spiritual dynamo of cutting edge of Kabbalic research and practice. Rabbi Yom Tov can be found sitting at the Rebbe's table, soaking and teaching, often into the wee hours of the night, like we'll do tonight. Rabbi Glaser now resides in Jerusalem with his wife and his children. He studies, teaches, plays music, and adventures in Jerusalem, and travels internationally, sharing what he calls transformational education. Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser, please open up.
Shalom, everybody. So glad to be with you all. It's thank God I'm in Yerushalayim, 5:15 in the morning, and yes, the creator of the world that we all believe in so deeply is he's Hakol Yachol. Everything's possible, but literally everything is possible. I mean, you've seen some of the twists and turns of your own life, and you just can't believe some of those moves and how everything's so orchestrated. But he's a Kol Yachol. He's absolutely, completely all-powerful and can have anything happen. But the question is, are you someone that's a vessel that anything can happen to you? Are you that kind of vessel? And we see that there are people that just have magical existences, and you can have that magical existence, but you have to be a vessel for it. You got to be a kli for such a life. Now, I want to tell you a little mushal that's been kind of popular this year that I've been telling people, and that is an experience of like lab rats, where if you put a rat inside a box, and the box has 4 long tunnels coming off of it, and you put cheese in the 4th tunnel. So what happens is the rat goes into the box. It will go down the 1st tunnel, no cheese. Finally goes down the 2nd tunnel, no cheese. Finds the 3rd tunnel, no cheese. Goes down to the 4th tunnel. There's the cheese. Now, if you put the rat back in the box, which tunnel is it going into? It's going straight to tunnel 4, right? They're not dummies. Goes straight to tunnel 4, the end of tunnel 4. Bingo, gets the cheese. Put it back in tunnel 4. It goes in tunnel 4. There's the cheese. Again, down tunnel 4. He goes straight to it each time. Now, if you move the cheese to tunnel 1, what happens is the rat goes in the box. Which tunnel is he going for?
4.
That's right, tunnel 4. Goes right down tunnel 4, no cheese. And the rat just turns around, comes out. Tunnel 3, no cheese. Tunnel 2, no cheese. Tunnel 1, there's the cheese. Boom. You put the rat back inside the box. Guess what tunnel he's going down? Very simple. Tunnel 1, that's where the cheese was. Now, you put a human being inside that box. Tunnel 1, no cheese. Tunnel 2, no cheese. Tunnel 3, no cheese. It goes tunnel 4, there's the cheese. Keep putting in tunnel 4, there's the cheese. There's the cheese. There's the cheese. There's the cheese. And then you move the cheese to tunnel 1. You put the person inside the box. What tunnel is he going for? Tunnel 4. Goes down tunnel 4. no cheese. At which point, you know what the human being does? He sets up a tent and he spends the next 40 years telling a story about the cheese that was once in Tunnel 4. In fact, he puts a plaque on the wall, Zichron Olam, about the cheese that was once in 24. In fact, his kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids have been hugging him about the cheese that was in at the end of Tunnel 4. We are human beings as storytellers. We tell stories. When you grew up, you heard stories probably at bedtime every night. And our Jewish narrative, our as a people, it's all couched in stories. Everything's stories. Human beings are storytellers. And we ourselves have our own story. We have our own narrative that we're telling. Now, there are parts of that story that are just, in our own personal story, they're just not true. But boy, did they feel true at the time. And when we grew up, much like Coach Menachem was sharing earlier, when we grew up, so, all kinds of stuff happens all the time. I mean, oh my gosh, my own kids, I think about all the time, like stuff that happened to them. That's like, oh, you just can't protect your kids. These days I would think we could aren't we high tech enough now that we could somehow wire our kids with cameras on all sides just to tell them when to move out of the way so the bus doesn't splash them on their way into school. And then when it's their turn to read, we'll have a little earpiece in their ear just to read it right so they don't stutter and the kids laugh. If we could only protect our kids throughout their entire days so nothing would ever happen, so they'd never develop any of those limiting beliefs that we all developed. And the answer is that we don't have that, and we can't protect them all day. And the scary thing is we're probably the biggest danger of all, and on a deeper level, we're the ones. I mean, if you think about it, the average person goes to a shrink, they're probably talking about their parents more than anyone else. So it's like we're the ones trying to protect them, but we're also the ones doing all the damage. So anyway, we have these stories, and those stories wind up being exactly what our brains navigate for. You see, the Possible You isn't like your average personal growth seminar. It's actually a technology that transforms the way that a part of your brain called the default mode network works. And I only got to learn all the brain science of it much later than when Coach Menachem did the seminar. So I understand things that I didn't understand then, even though I've been teaching the seminar for so many years. It's 19 years now, 9,000 graduates, I think we're even at 1,000 now with the Zoom webinars.
I need to come back.
By the way, yeah, what's that?
I need to come back.
Yeah, it's really grown. It's amazing what's going on in there now. And speaking of which, it's coming to Lakewood the first time ever on August 30th, which is like a major launch for us. I feel so bad. These people have been driving from Lakewood to Muncie to Borough Park. And I'm like, oh, I don't want people driving all over the world for this. I feel so bad that they come in, so we're finally going to Lakewood, which is really exciting. We were trying to hit a critical mass of those people driving in that we're finally going to come there and please God have a beautiful seminar. So I have Muncie on the 23rd of this month, and then the 30th of August will be Lakewood with an intro the week before, Thursday night, on whatever day that is, the 27th or something. Anyway, so here we are going through these, going through our lives in such a way. So here's the mashal, and actually, because you grew up in Muncie, Coach Menachem, you'll like this, is that when you're driving down Palisades Parkway, and I love this because there's such beautiful herds of deer all the time. You see whole herds sometimes. Like I saw 10, 12 deer. So usually I'm a passenger. So I always say to my driver, did you see those deer? I mean, it was like you couldn't miss this amount of deer. And some of them had big racks of, big giant antlers, and it was a big amount of deer. It wasn't a little amount. And they're not exactly the same color as grass, and they're right on the edge of the highway. And it's two different trips. A couple of weeks ago, I asked the driver, did you notice those deer? Did you see the deer? And he was like, what deer? What deer? He didn't see any deer. And the reason is, and they've discovered this scientifically, that while you're driving down Palisades Parkway, 90% of your brain is not seeing anything. You see, there's a tyrant inside your brain that's this conductor, like an orchestra conductor. And, right now it's an oboe solo. So oboe's like this long tube. It's a quieter instrument. So he has to tell the 30 violinists to be quiet. So the conductor's like this to the violinists while he's going like this to the oboe player. And he's like up with the oboe, down with the violins, and he's conducting everything. So you have a conductor inside your brain that's constantly keeping your brain on low, slow, quiet, keep all the instruments quiet. So your brain's as little networked as possible so that you can stay 10% of your brain on task. So they've discovered that 90% of what we see most of the time, we don't even see. It's just predictive models from every other time you drove down the highway. And that's one of the reasons why you would prefer a 35-year-old drive you from Muncie to Lakewood than a 16-year-old, because he just has much more past for the predictive models that he's really not going to see anything but that car in front of him. And he's predicting for everything. And the 10% of him that's on task is really on the front bumpers and the cars in front of him. And he's really ready for all that. That's where his brain's on. Now, here's the point, is that our brain can't distinguish. That network called the default mode network cannot distinguish between 65 miles per hour down the Palisades Parkway and walking into a wedding. It can't distinguish the two. They both feel just as scary, because on the highway you have a risk of, grievous bodily harm from a car accident, God forbid. Whereas a wedding has the fear of rejection. How am I coming off in the other people's eyes? And then there's business and all the meetings and interviews and everything we're doing in business is the fear of failure, which for the human brain, it doesn't know the difference between crashing in a highway, God forbid, or showing up in a business meeting. And then you have a third fear, that was rejection. The rejection was the wedding. And any other time you're, going to shul or whatever and wondering what everyone's thinking about you. Or there was the business stuff, which is the fear of failure. The third fear is the fear of being out of control. And that's going to meet your kids Menahel, right? It's not called Minhahel for nothing, yeah, which means from hell. Just kidding. We love all Minhahels, but people are often scared to death, because they feel like the fate of their children is in someone else's hands. And that's the fear of being out of control. And once again, we're not really present. We're just, totally on task, and we're not there. And so it turns out that you can actually get that default mode network of yours to go, shh, be quiet. This is not an emergency. Someone actually spent $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 tonight for me to enjoy myself at this wedding. If you don't mind, I'm going to dance around a little bit and meet a few new people for a change without alcohol. Like, I don't need alcohol to confuse the default mode network. Though it is interesting that you see someone have one drink, next thing you know, they're talking to dancing to strangers. They're talking to strangers and dancing around the center of the circle like this, with one glass of wine. Like, what happened all of a sudden? And we actually can get the default mode network to settle down. And one of my favorite stories is when I'll speak to someone the week after the seminar, and the guy will say that he was making Kiddush that Shabbos after the seminar. And he looks across the room and he sees his wife for the first time, because his default mode network had her on some kind of predictive models. And so he wasn't present there. The tyrant, I call the orchestra, the conductor of the orchestra, he has somehow removed the conductor's baton from his hand, and he's able to see his wife. And many have said that they saw their wife and they felt like they could just start sobbing. And wives have said this about their husbands. But then he looks over and sees his children, who are like, they've become concepts. children themselves can become, because the brain has two options: experiential, which we were saying is the 10%, and then 90% is just conceptual, where I've just become conceptual. And Coach Menachem, you may remember from the seminar when we talked about experiential versus conceptual living. And the move that all of us made when we were about 11, 12 years old was we did a surgical maneuver called Get the World Out of Me. It's a worldotomy. And that's get the world out of me, because little kids, why do we want to protect little ones so much? Because it all goes in them. Like they're like sponges, and they're taking in everything, and they're just trying to get through their childhood without getting too embarrassed or being called a failure or laughed at or controlled or whatever. So we're just we're able to stop seeing the world conceptually, because I was saying it around 11, 12 years old is when your brain gets good enough to actually start conceptualizing life, where you just get the world out of it. That's why you'll notice teens are very cool about stuff. You can tell them like the craziest news ever, and they're just like, so what's that have to do with me? You're like, your high school blew up. Like, that has to do with you, or whatever. And they're just like, yeah, so, because everything's been pushed out. But the problem is we forgot to put a switch. See, a paramedic has a switch. They're present with their family, but when they run in a house full of screaming people and blood or whatever, they don't walk in and go, ah, they're conceptual. And this is the same reason why surgeons don't operate on their own family, because how are they supposed to stay conceptual when the person on the operating table is a family member? And so they won't operate it, because there's a time for being conceptual. And some of those times are in crisis or in emergency situations. You want to be conceptual in there. You want to kind of shut down the rawness of the experience. But sadly, so many of us are shut down for the rawness of the experience of our own spouse or the children or our parents, and especially our in-laws. Who's not conceptual about their in-laws? But here's the thing is, kiddush has become a concept. I'm going to switch to Yiddish guy now. Kiddush has become a concept. So by the time the guy's already sobbed over his wife and kids, now when he makes kiddush, there's no wine left in the cup. By the time he's done, there's no wine left in the cup, because he's just like, Yom HaShishi. Like all of a sudden he just realizes, how many years have I been saying this? Like, it's not Yom HaShishi, it's Yom HaShvi'i. Why do we start the kiddush with the wrong day? And then it's Vayechal Elokim is by Yom HaShvi'i. He didn't stop on Yom HaShvi'i. He stopped on Yom HaShishi. So now it's like we're on Yom HaShvi'i, and now we're saying he stopped on Yom HaShvi'i. I thought he stopped on Yom HaShishi. So it's like, what's going on here? So the guy can barely get through Kiddush, because Kiddush all of a sudden is like opening itself up to him. And Shacharis is like, forget about it. Like he comes home 2 hours late from Shacharis, because he's still on Nishmas. He's, everyone's gone home. The Kiddush is over. He's on Nishmas, just trying to figure it all out, because the whole world opens up. And then later, he's with his chavrusa. And the chavrusa, it's a very difficult tosfos. And he used to have this film between him and the daf of like, this is a difficult tosfos. Now, anyone trying to learn a tosfos, calling it difficult, it's going to be difficult. And boy, does it get difficult. But once the default mode network shuts down, Tosfos opens up, because Tosfos he's not at all trying to be difficult here. There was no trying to be difficult. He was actually saying things very clearly. But it's going to require some, first of all, the possibility that I'm a Ben Torah, and to be able to say, I got this. And the commitment going into it that I'm going to get this. And, this is mine. This is shaykh to me, the learning that I'm doing right now. And then, it just opens up, and everything else seems to open up and open up and open up and open up. And then you're in a business meeting, and it's like, you're actually so much more interested in the person you're meeting at the business meeting than the business you're discussing. And who doesn't want to work with someone so interested? It's like, wow, this person's like really interested in me. And you go for an interview and you wind up interviewing them. You're like, tell me about yourself. They're like, I thought you're the one getting interviewed. Like, well, yeah, but if we're going to spend 10 minutes together, might as well enjoy each other. Like just tell me 2 things about yourself. How long you've been interviewing people in this company. Anyway, now, how do we start?
Before you go
Yeah,
on,
go. Yeah.
how does it happen and why does it happen? Why does somebody become from experiential to conceptual? Why do we shut down and everything becomes conceptual?
Well, if you notice, there's no pause button on life. And because I've already gone through certain things, embarrassments or any other difficulty, what happens is I'm vigilant now. Before I was talking about being vigilant for the car in front of me, I'm vigilant now for very specific triggers that anything should trigger those feelings about myself again. And so those are called triggers. And this is why, for example, you cannot get to a therapist within a month of Pesach if you didn't order in advance, because everyone knows they're going to get triggered by Uncle this and triggered by that one and triggered by that one. And everyone's going to, by the way, in America, Thanksgiving, it's like you can't get a therapist for 2 months before Thanksgiving because of all the different family members that trigger them. And so, you have people they're CEO of a company, but they were the 4th child in the family and their oldest brother just causes them to totally shut down, which is, it's such a joke because the oldest brother now works at a car wash. You understand? It's like one guy's a millionaire CEO and the other guy works in a car wash, but meanwhile, he's got 3 sessions at a shrink coming into Thanksgiving dinner for the triggers. So what caused us to shut down was just our vigilance for our triggers. That default mode network has to somehow navigate the dangers of life. And those dangers for each one of us is something else because each one of us has our own story. It's really your unique things that you're watching out for. I can keep going. So anyway, but the bottom line is that I thought you were going to ask, how do you get it to shut down? How do you get the default mode network to be quiet? And the answer is, and this was the amazing thing I discovered, and Coach Menachem, another thing that I discovered in the last years is that when you go down the rabbit hole of what your default mode network part of your brain is vigilant for, it just drops its baton. It's a discovery. It's just a discovery that I made that it can't keep telling you who you are, meaning that secret limited who you are, like not good enough, not lovable, not capable, not good looking, not smart, small, weak, worthless, like every single thing. And by the way, human beings, we think, psychologists tell us today that we think some 60,000 thoughts a day. And you want to know which are the dangerous ones? So you all learned about Lashon Hara. It's the ones you speak, right? Yeah, that may be dangerous for you spiritually to speak Lashon Hara, but there's some words that are much worse because think about it. The words you say are the ones you tailor for the listener. What about the other? What about the other 59,000 thoughts of the day where we're vicious against ourselves, where we are ruthless in what we will say about ourselves? And we're really, really rough on ourselves. And it's Motzi Shemra. Can you imagine sitting at a Shabbos table and someone says to you, someone's like, so Coach Menachem, what do you think about Yankee Goldstein? And you're like, oh, that guy is, first of all, kind of an ugly guy and stupid and worthless, and no one really wants him around, so he's unwanted, and he's kind of weak, and the guy's lost. He's just lost. A failure. What would happen? Everyone at the Shabbos day would be like, Coach Menachem, we can't speak that way about people. He'd be like, oh, sorry. Yeah. No, he would never say that about someone else. And I bless you, and I hope that as a possible graduate, you never say that about yourself, Coach Menachem. But
a lot of work.
Yeah, but we will say the darndest things about ourselves. We're ruthless, just ruthless. And what happens is that you can only speak that way about yourself if it's under the radar. Now, that's stage one, is what are you really saying? The other thing is, if you're saying that stuff, you don't want anybody to hear it. You know, can you imagine if you had a megaphone one morning, you wake up and you're walking down the street and everyone's looking at you like you're nuts. And what was happening? There's a megaphone off your head, 2 megaphones saying everything you're thinking about yourself off your head. You know what you would do? I mean, you'd find the nearest basement as soon as possible and like cover yourself with blankets and like, someone get these megaphones off my head. We say all that stuff. We'd never want anyone to hear it. So what do? We create a personality that is the personality we want everyone to know. And then we vigilantly protect it for the rest of our lives. And we're holding muscles, we're holding, you know, we're people are holding so tight, sometimes in seminars. I haven't done this in a while. I mean, since Corona, I've only done 2 seminars. I did one in Borough Park 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago in Muncie, but sometimes I'll take a participant to the front of the room. And so, you know, only if he's game, I'm not going to embarrass someone. So he comes up to the front of the room and I take his hand and I say, let me hold your hand. So he gives me his hand and I raise his hand up to here. And then I say, okay, give me your hand. He's like, I gave you my hand. And then what do? I let go and he's still holding his hand up. I said, give me your hand. And he says, so he puts his hand in my hand. I raise it up. I say, now give it to me. Put all your weight there. Like really let go. And then I drop my hand and guess what? It's still up. It doesn't go down. And what everyone realizes there is that we're all holding. Well, think about it. If I can't let go of my hand when I'm being asked to, and I was ready to bear the weight, and arms aren't light. I know when someone's giving it to me because it weighs about 10, 12 pounds. And you know when someone dropped 10, 12 pounds in your hand. And I can just feel this guy won't let go. And we don't let go. And it's all kinds of parts of our body. In fact, the only reason I got to the possible you was because mine was, by the way, I'll share with you my word because it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. That story is no longer relevant, but my word was unacceptable. I was humiliated at 10 years old in shul, and I just felt so unacceptable in the eyes of others. I guess the person who humiliated me, who didn't even try to, it was like the most meaningless situation. Like there was no one humiliating me, but I was humiliated. And I think that person was particularly popular and I wanted to be accepted by everybody. And I was younger than everybody in this situation. And I just got like unacceptable. Now, what do I do? Now that I'm unacceptable and I'm 10 years old. So like, I got 100 years of this now, you know, like, what am I going to do? And believe me, you think you went to your parents to tell them, hey, mom and dad, guess what? I got terrible news. I just found out I'm dumb. No, we just sit at the Shabbos table like this. Suddenly you realize, because all it takes is opening your mouth at a Shabbos table to have an older sibling say, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And now it's twice, because it happened in school earlier that day. And now it's Shabbos, and now it happened again. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is real. And you learn real quick the personality of shy. And then everyone said, oh, he's shy. We actually have names for these things. It's amazing that we can actually believe a person's shy. Shy isn't a personality. Shy is a chess move we made to protect the king, because the king's in trouble with being dumb, which is that one of those voices, our ruthless barrage of voices that we'll attack ourselves with. And so we create shy. And if it's failure, maybe we'll create lazy, lazy. Who's going to ask a guy who's lazy to do anything? And so you're totally off the hook. Now, all of this goes on vibrationally. So people sense, not to ask the lazy guy to do anything. And not to ask the shy person what time it is on the street. And they're literally saying, don't ask me. I'm not the person that's going to give you the time. I'm not giving you the time of day. So we actually have developed a vibrational cover-up. By the way, the inner negative voice is also vibration. That has its own vibrations. And how did the brother Friday night pick up to tell that kid that was the dumbest thing he ever heard in his life? How'd he pick that up, the older brother? He normally doesn't speak that way to him, but once it locked in school, and he didn't tell his parents, because it's nice when your kids come home and they have an issue like that. You can see it on their eyes. Something happened that day. And you can uncover it and you can re-story them on the spot. Restoring adults is more difficult because once that vibration's there, it just keeps coming and coming. Okay, God created the world. Everything's made of elokus. I'm not going to give a Kabbala share, but this whole world's made of vibration. Everything, even what you're hearing right now, is all just elokus. It's just movement, vibrational energy. Got my guitar back there. I'll get that thing going a little bit, but believe me, the A string, which you might have heard before, it's moving at 440 oscillations per second. While I'm singing, my vocal cords are moving 440. So there's a lot of science in this. And so I create a distraction vibrational personality, which is has nothing to do with that beautiful 2-year-old who's eating mulch, as Coach Menachem said. I love that, and dancing around, It's like we all have these beautiful personalities. Usher and Coach Menachem and everybody, when I have, a men's seminar, so I often get these rebbes. There are cheder rebbes and yeshiva rebbes, and, we've actually had a couple of rebbes, and many dayanim, and generally it's funny when I come to do a seminar, it's often the first seminar, it's got a lot of manhigim, because they're like, let me get in there before everyone else gets in there. So what happens is how to get on the manhigim? I ask a kid in the group. One of the rebbes in the group. I say, anyone here was a rebbe of 3-year-olds learning Aleph Beis? And so one of them raises his hand. I was a rebbe of them. Tell me, did any of those 3-year-old little cheder boys, was any 2 of them alike? And they say, no, 0 overlap. There was no overlap of any kid. It was like, by the way, I've had some from Satmar. So it's 4 classes, 40 in a class. And they're all named Yoel, by the way. But they're 0 overlap. It was 40 worlds inside my classroom. Each one was his own world. And then I ask another Rebbe in the class, I say, you're a Rebbe of the 12-year-olds that turned 13? Yeah, that year? I said, yeah, were any of those 2 kids different? And he's like, no, these were self-amputating kids, meaning they anything that individuates these kids, they will just shave off the appendage of individuality just to get through in as uniform a way as possible.
Rabbi
And
Glaser,
so what?
we got a lot of questions here tonight. Let's wrap up the opening and let's go.
Oh, I'm on my opening? Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, that's opening.
I remember now. You told me the format. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. You just get me going. I just keep going. Anyway, so the basic wrap up is that there's a beautiful child inside of all of us. It's a personality that is the soul meets the body, perfect nexus, a perfect fusion of who God made you. And that's all I'm giving people. And when they have that and the vibrational energy that they've been kind of shooting into the future of don't ask me, or I'm the guy. By the way, those are all shy and lazy are flight, but plenty of people got fight. And I was doing that cool thing all those years. And that's a fight vibration energy. And that's, I'm going to dominate this situation. But that's exhausting. And your loved ones have to jump through circus hoops all the time just to keep up with you. And it's you're an exhausting character to be to have as a family member or a friend. And all of a sudden you can just get back the beautiful child. You suddenly get playful again. And it's a pleasure to be with you and be around you and connect. Anyway, so just in conclusion is, so I've been doing this all these years and I'm inviting everyone, to join me. I have Zoom webinars. I actually have a Zoom webinar East Coast on Zoom tomorrow, 11 for women. And you can just go to rabbiyomtov.com and sign up if you're of the female persuasion. And if you're on a non-smartphone or no internet, if you're just a call-in So then there's a phone number that you can dial, which is just 011-972. Take out your pen. 011-972-50-292-6009. 011-972-50-292-6009. And so when I was Usher, when I was doing the seminar in New York last week, I had many people who were at the Zoom seminar came to the actual live seminar for not the 2 hours a day, but the 24-hour over 4 days. And the ones who had done the Zoom seminar were like ahead of the game because they already had all the intellectual property from having done the Corona seminar, the Zoom seminar. Okay, what kind of questions you got? What do you got?
All right, let's take a little poll. Let's see what everybody's holding here tonight. And everybody is a little, I'm going to say personally, a little confused. We want to break down these questions. Want to see if we have things in us that are holding us back. And I want to really break it down so people understand what we're talking about here. So we're not all in a daze. We're all over the place. And that's what me and Menachem are here. We're here to break it down to the simple people. Let's take first the poll. Everybody who's on, I want to see an interesting poll. Turn it on. Okay, everybody, this is an anonymous poll. We want to show Rabbi Glaser who we are, what we're doing here tonight. Do you feel like you're living your ultimate potential in life? There's 4 options. Yes, I'm right on target is option A. B, I feel like I'm missing sometimes, but I'm trying. Option C, I feel like I am failing in life. D, I don't like to think about these questions. So the first question is, again, you feel like you're living your ultimate potential in life? Yes, I'm right on target. I feel like I'm missing something, but trying. I feel like I'm failing. I don't like to think about these questions. The follow-up question to number 1 is number 2. What are you doing to stay on target to get where you want to be? Option A, learning Musar, Shiurim. Option B, talking it out with professionals, mentors. Option C, I don't know how to go about it. Option D, I don't feel I could accomplish my potential. Everybody, please vote. Read the questions. It's anonymous. We don't know who's saying who, but we're going to get a general feel of what the crowd is. Rabbi Glaser, and you're going to get all your information right here. You ready?
That's so cool.
It's really
I love it.
Okay, 5 seconds, everybody. 5, 4, 3.
Wait, you're doing too fast.
2, 1, 0. Okay, almost.
How do I click if I want to click?
You can't click because I know your answers already.
Oh.
Okay, let's share the results. You ready? 12% of people here tonight, they came here just to say hello to you, Rabbi Glaser. They have no reason of being here. They're right on target. They're perfectly good. They are not missing anything. A whopping 62%, they feel like they're really trying, but they're missing something. They don't know what, but they're missing something. 20% feel like they're really failing. 6% feel like they don't like to think about these questions. The follow-up to the question, what are you doing to stay on target where you want to be? 36% obviously turning to learning in Torah, which is learning Musar, Shiurim. 34% are talking with professionals and mentors. And 26% don't know how to go about it. And 5% don't feel like they can accomplish their potential. You see these answers?
Wow.
I think these are amazing results over here. So bottom line, I'm getting out of here tonight. People want to live their potential, and people are trying, whether it's learning with via Torah, which is amazing, or talking to professionals to really get there. And I think that's one of the main reasons why you're here tonight. So we really want to take a lot of people's questions. Everybody, please turn on your camera. I have 400,000 questions for him, so I'm sure everybody at least has one, because I don't know what he's talking about. To me, this is Chinese, and I really want to understand what he's talking about, and I really want to get it. Stop sharing that. And let's start up. I'll start off with the opening question, and everybody who wants to ask a question, please text me. Menachem, please bounce questions off me. Menachem is much more familiar with Rabbi Glaser and Shiurim. But the first question from some of the pre-questions that we got, which I thought was very interesting, and everybody talks to money. So let's start with money. Money talks, right? Question, I love to have a more luxurious life with more money and more flexibility. Live a little bit more comfortable. But I don't think it's the right thing. I don't think that's what Hashem wants from us on this world. That's not the reason why we're here. So the question is, he feels like he wants to live more luxury, but he's tightening it up that Hashem says, no, don't be so magushim. Rabbi Glaser, what do you think of that? Is he living his potential? Is he covering his potential?
Wow, you're asking me a rabbi question. Here I am coming on as the possible.
Glaser, we want not very long answers. Good answers, but this is not another segment.
Yeah, I understand. This is more in my rabbi career. So if a person's willing to forego the gashmias like that, by all means they should, because they're you're going to have every kind of kid you know, I'm thinking more about the children here, that you're going to have every kind of kid, and to train your kids in that more luxurious lifestyle is going to set them up for potentially unhappy lives. So if you can forgo it and be happy, so then by all means forgo it. If on the other hand, there's certain people who just need it, as you know, we know in Torah that certain people, like for example, when they go bankrupt, we have to like support them for a while at the level they're used to. If you really need it, so then you're going to be unhappy in your lifetime, and now you raised kids as an unhappy parent, and that's no good either. So you really, what I would do if I met such a person, I would really take their pulse on their desires for having a little extra gashmias. And whether it's worth making the sacrifice to go get it, I would take their pulse on that and see if it's truly what they need. So then they're going to be the best parent that way. But if they could forgo it.
But should a person live his life different based on his children?
And so the answer is the answer is yes, if he's happy or she's happy. If, on the other hand, they're not going to be happy living their lives for their children, meaning forgoing stuff for their children, and they're going to be unhappy about that, so then they're not doing anyone a service. You know, they've taught their children how to have unhappy lives, because we're modeling. Much more than what we say and do is, you know, how we're doing is modeling for our kids. So I personally feel that it's worth it to forgo things for our kids, unless we're just not going to be happy campers, at which point then it's no longer worth it, and you know, let our kids deal with it. You know, it probably would have been better. It would have been better for my kids growing up in Karlin in Mea Shearim, that they would have, you know, that their father didn't ride a mountain bike, but they would have had one unhappy father, and so I trained them in mountain biking.
Okay, Rabbi.
Sure.
Rabbi Glaser, we have quite a few live questions people want to ask you, and I want to go back to the basics of the fundamental of the issues, because I jumped into a serious question, but we're going to go back a little bit to build up about what a person's inner is. Let's start off with Scott. Scott, you there?
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Yom Tov.
Hey, you got to give him a little history, Scott.
We go back. I did the Possible You probably 3 times, about 15 years ago. And I was very close to Yom Tov back in the day when I lived in Eretz Yisrael. Went to Aish, Baruch Hashem. We go way back. And he definitely changed my life. And the whole, it's just an amazing, amazing program. Everyone should definitely do it. Baruch Hashem. And you can have the opportunity to get close with Rabbi Yom Tov. So that's also amazing. So my question is...
What is your question, Grasshopper?
You were touching on it. You just started touching on it regarding being a parent, right? We right. A lot of our reason that people have issues is because they're parents, right? Right. So, how do we as parents? How do we make sure that our kids don't have those issues and are happy when they're older?
So the mashal I like to give is that we think we can drive our car without taking it into the shop for like 30 years straight. You know, I bet you there's a couple of people still driving around in an Oldsmobile station wagon in Lakewood from like 1970, and like they're still driving around with that thing. But when you're in that car, just praying that you're going to meaning they would never take it out of town because they'd just get arrested for driving it. But when you're in that car, you smell fumes. Why? Because there's a pipe going under the entire car, and it's getting corroded from salted roads and years and years and years and years and years of not getting changed. Well, if the exhaust pipe's blowing smoke up into the car, well, it goes into the cabin. And so the way I like to say it is we're smoking our kids out in these old cars of ours, because we're still, we're thinking, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You guys saw the poll we just had. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I've got news for everybody. You're not a dog. And what happens is when you bring your car into the shop and you let your motor cool, you can actually put yourself in the line of fire of somebody who trains people to clean their fuel. Like there's an oil filter, clean it. There's an air filter, clean it. To change the oil. It's full of metal parts after a year of driving, and 30 years, forget about it. And so we can't go with the dictates of the narratives, which are often built off our parents. As I said, we're generations in telling stories about tunnel number 4, and it's often dysfunctional. We cover up our dysfunction with worldview, with hashkafa. You can know wherever you have hashkafa. I don't mean Torah hashkafa. I mean your own hashkafas. Wherever you have hashkafa, you're probably covering something up. That's the beauty, is that like once you know that formula, all you have to do is see some hashkafa you've created, and behind there you're hiding something, and that's what's messing up our kids. When you burn clean fuel, you have a safe home. But Scott, I realize, Usher, I'm going a little long with this, but you want to hear the real answer? The answer is distinguishing acceptance and approval. You remember that, Menachem? Yeah, distinguishing acceptance and approval. Because what happens is, if you're an observant Jew, you have high standards of approval. High standards. Even if you're not, Jews just have a lot of categories that we're very high standard in. So you have high standard approval, and what happens? You wind up only accepting whoever you approve of. So instead of approval and acceptance, it's like meaning two separate subjects, they get blurred, and I wind up only accepting those I approve of. And what that does is it makes our kids feel unsafe. Because here we're building a home with high standards, as you should. You should always have high standards of approval. But because it gets blurred with acceptance, our children feel unsafe. And you don't want to try that in America, because America, as you all know, with the millennials running around and the Black Lives Matter and the whole things going on out there, that those the left-wing radical liberal, socialist undercurrent, that's now the overcurrent, because they've shamed all the other people to silence, is that they're all about acceptance, and they've thrown out approval. There's like, not only you see what's our problem as observant Jews? We have high standard approval, and therefore I only accept whoever I approve of. That's our problem, is that we're unsafe for everybody. Because who do you love? You love whoever accepts you. That's it. And who do you hate? Whoever doesn't accept you. Like, the people that you love are the people that accept you. And so if your standards of approval are that high and blurred with acceptance, so you wind up, you're just scary for people, and scary for your own children. In America, acceptance is the highest value, and they have that blurred with approval. And so what happens is that they say, well, not only do you have to accept everyone, you also have to approve. And therefore, there are no more standards. There's no such thing as guy or girl anymore. Did you know the majority of people under the age of 25, when they're asked on a questionnaire whether they're male, female, or other, the majority of people put other. You can't be other, but yet people choose other now. And so, in other words, you're living in a country that's safe for being mishunadik, being different, being anything you want, and even if it goes against the actual nature of creation itself. And so if your home has acceptance and approval blurred, and you've got these high standards, well, the grass is greener, and to the children it looks like, wow, America looks a lot safer than my home. American culture is like, you're accepted no matter what. It actually calls them, it beckons them. So it's so important that we distinguish acceptance and approval. That's acceptance, that's approval. We have high standards of approval, but you're accepted no matter what. And so, in answer to your question, Scott, there's two things. One is our Krum, narratives that has got us, because we've never worked them through, burning, not clean fuel, sending smoke into the cabin of the car. But the other is that we have acceptance and approval blurred, and our kids just genuinely feel like they're only going to make it in your home based on your standards. And now some of you might be thinking, well, what are we supposed to do? Not have a standard? And the answer is that you want to guarantee your kids and grandkids and great grandkids are observant. You make your home the most accepting home there is, with the standards. And you can, those two simultaneously exist. They have separate definitions, so why can't they simultaneously exist? Full acceptance, full standards of approval.
Rabbi Yom Tov, we have a lot more questions. I want to make sure your internet's good. It says your bandwidth is low, and I want to make sure you're super clear. So just be aware of that.
My bandwidth is low? Well, that's strange.
I hear you clearly.
I have all my bars.
Okay,
good.
Make sure you're good. Okay, Yehuda, you ready?
Hashem should protect.
Here we go. Yehuda, my friend.
I heard about chinuch for the kids, and the word I think was how we mess up the kids or not. So I wanted to know if there's any standard that you could speak about in a nutshell of what because every child is complicated, and it takes a lot of time and effort for chinuch. What's that actually? What you believe and what's your opinion? Is that we do that makes? Is it high standards? Is it low standards? That mess up the kid, and about children or in general answering questionnaires of other. I see that the Torah deals with not just one other, but many types of other in halacha, tumtum, adregenus. So it seems like the Torah not only could have easily ignored this, because how many times do you go to shul and someone asks you this question, should I put on tefillin or not, or which side of the mechitza should I sit on? But the Torah actually takes the time, and the Chachamim take the time to discuss this. I doubt they're doing it because they dealt with this in a Shilas Teshuvos on a daily basis. Must be the message is to teach us not to fall into the trap that we would believe that there's no other. But what do you mean by there is no other?
So I heard I think a couple of questions there. I think the first question I think I more or less handled is that you don't drop your standards. Your standards are that is your covenant with God, your standards. You don't mess with that. And those standards are what will give your kids a compass that points north for their entire lives. And you don't compromise on standards ever. Although one thing I wanted to add, Yehuda, is that it's important that whatever standards you're keeping, you know what they are. I mean, I meet people, they can't tell the difference between a minhag, a halacha, a gezerah, and a deraisa. They weren't educated properly. So it's really important that our kids understand that we're differentiating and distinguishing what a minhag is, what a halacha is, what a mamish, a deraisa is, and what a gezerah is, And so that's number one. I want to say, just add that you should, I said, have high standards, but also be able to distinguish them for your children, so your children have a clear view of Judaism. And it's not just, a shaylis tbeif, as they say, like don't ask questions, which is what you tell people when you don't know what you're doing. You just tell them a shaylis tbeif. So we got to know what we're doing as Jews. And to distinguish things properly. Regarding the other, what I meant by as no other is that there is a binary nature to reality. There is plants are male and female, fish are male and female, all animals, chayus, behemoths, all of them male and female, and human beings, with the exception of the androgynous, which are male or female. There is a genetic person that can be born with both features, and that, as you so clearly said beautifully, that there's halacha, obviously is discussing them as well, and but because there's a binary nature to the world, what the word binary is, it means there's two. Binary is two. So there's, like, for example, in digital is ones and zeros. Everything digital, even what you're hearing right now, is all ones and zeros. It's a binary. And because the very creation's binary, and because the left in their excitement of acceptance wants to wipe out the binary nature of reality, to say there's just no such thing as wrong or right. They've basically decided they're just going to tear down the whole hierarchy of value altogether. Why? Because of the hierarchy of competence turns to power, and now there's going to be people wielding power, and they're going to step on the lower people on those rungs of the ladder, and it's like, yeah, that's true. So we should probably change presidents every 4 years, or I'm sure most Jews would prefer it be 8 years this time, and let's change. We have built into the system to deal with power. And so that's a wonderful ha'ara. But Let's not throw out like God's creation, which has been built with hierarchy of value. And think about it, human beings are born for meaning. We're born for meaning. Like, we make meaning out of this world. We are meaning making machines. And therefore we also have to point for meaning that's higher and brings us more meaning, and then lower that brings us less meaning. And so we can prioritize our time and our efforts. But the ultimate value is good, and the ultimate devalue is bad. And that hierarchy of values is like, if you'll notice, every civilization that's lost their hierarchy of values, God pulls the plug on them. We have stories in the Torah of that. We have the flood, we have Sodom and Gomorrah, but it's many other whole civilizations that conquered the world at times. God just pulls the plug on them if they lose the hierarchy of values.
Rabbi Yom Tov, let's go. We have another live question. I want to turn it on. Surely, you're on.
Yeah, hi, Rabbi Yom Tov. You had discussed earlier about how we, experience life differently. Sometimes we're more present, and you had mentioned that story about somebody who began being more present and suddenly saw his wife and children and kiddush in a whole different way. And I was wondering, is that something that we can turn on or off? And if yes, is it something that we should be turning on or off? So, for example, there may be times where you maybe don't want to be present. If something as simple as being stuck in traffic, or long grocery line, or chas v'shalom, if somebody's going through something that's stressful or maybe even worse, painful, then he may not want to be present. A defense mechanism, he may want to check out. So I guess the question is that possible? Can we choose to turn it on or off, or do we have to decide just globally how we want to live our life? And if it's something that we can't turn on or off, is it okay to turn it off when we're uncomfortable, or are we going to be losing out in those cases as well?
Excellent question, Surly. And then the other question is, I thought you were going to ask, how do we sustain it? Like, that's great. They all turned off their default mode network and now they're all experiential, but like, what about a week later, a month later? So I thought you were going to ask that. But so the question is absolutely, you turn it on and off. I mean, believe me, when a dentist comes after my gums with a needle, it's like, what does that needle have to do with my gums? I'm gone. I'm checking out now. And so I'll tell you the truth, Surly, you don't really, once you get experiential, you don't need to even check out. You'll check out naturally when the needle's coming for your gums. You just check out naturally. We check out and it's called, there's actually a term for it, whenever there's something traumatic like that. And women will have this at birth and stuff. And so that term is called disassociation, where we disassociate. And that's one of the big reasons why there's so much work that needs to be done in our communities, is because the torture that people went through in the war left people disassociated. Meaning there are three types of survivors. There are physical survivors. That's what I grew up. I grew up in California, where all they did was survive physically, but they left everything back in Europe. Like, they just, the Holocaust was the nail in the coffin of Europe. It was the nail in the coffin of Yiddishkeit. It was the nail in the coffin of everything there. Leave it in Europe. And the survivors survived physically. The second kind of survivor are the ones who built, Brooklyn, and eventually Lakewood and Muncie and all those places, and Curious and Mondro with a D. And they are physical survivors and spiritual survivors, meaning they're going to show those Nazi bastards, and they're going to rebuild Judaism in the world. And they're going to show them they built these, and you realize we're all observant because of these people. There's no way I would have become a Balchuva if it wasn't for Rav Noach Weinberg, who grew up in Flatbush. No Weinbergs, no Yom Tov Glazers. Yeah. And all of you have your own story of who survived the war with that iron fist Yiddishkeit, which maybe some of you are just trying to get over right now. But it was like they gave us, that we inherited a Yiddishkeit that they gave us because of their tremendous fight that they were showing. The third type of survivor are very rare, where they survive physically, they survive spiritually with their Yiddishkeit, but they also survived with themselves intact. There's an I I have an I. And you'll meet, I meet people. I've met people from Lakewood, from Muncie, from Williamsburg, who never heard their own parents say, I love you. Because if you don't have an I, I'm not talking about the young generation. I'm talking about people in their 40s today. Because if you don't have an I, how do you say I love you? How do you say those 3 words? And so I once asked a group of 40-year-olds, I said, I had a group of 30 of these guys. I said, when was the last time any of you said, I love you to your wife? And so one of them said, 10 years ago. And everyone else was like very impressed. They're like, not bad, not bad. One of them raised his hand and said, I told her on our wedding night, I love you. And if anything changes, I'll let you know. So anyway, one of the guys says 10 years ago, but he says, Rabbi, you're not going to believe what I said to her. I'm like, what do you mean? I just asked you. Did you say I love you? You know, he says, no, I said, you are loved. It's like, general, you're loved. You know, we're not sure who loves you. It might be, you know, the lady in the checkout stand. But anyway, so you got to have an I to have I love you, and that self-reference. And so, you know, yeah.
Wrap it up, because I have a few good questions over there coming in. I want to cover ground over here. It's getting late.
Okay, Usher, I just want to share one funny story. Is I was trying to find the I was teaching 17 Dayanim. You know, I had a bunch of Dayanim come to work with me and a workshop, and I just couldn't get through to any of them to find the I, because they were all older, you know, from that European upbringing. And anyway, so I was just trying anything. So I finally said to them, I'm like, do any of you did you ever have a bad experience when you were a kid? And so one of the elderly ones, and the more, you know, the biggest of all the rabbis there, he said, he raised his hand. He says, yeah, his father passed away when he was like 12. And I said, so what'd you say? You know, what'd you say? And he says to me, looks up at me like a cheder boy. He's like, I said, Kaddish. And I'm like, no, what'd you say inside? Like, who are you, man? It was like 2 hours with him already. I was going nuts. I was like trying to find them inside, you know, and I'm like, who are you? Who are you? And he finally holds up a triangular sandwich, you know, those wrap sandwiches packaged. And he shows it to me. And he says, this is who I am. And I look at the sandwich and I'm like, you're a sandwich? And then he points to the fine print on the sandwich, and it's his name. He's the Rav HaMaksher on the sandwich. This is who I am. And there was like such a heavy feeling in the air. So heavy. Yeah, Usher, go ahead. Are you glad I told the story?
Usher, before we go to live questions, I think we should go back, because Rabbi Yom Tov is in the middle explaining how it goes from a child. You make you create your story, and then you justify your story, and you're basically in your box, and you have your survival strategy, or maybe you can elaborate on that and help us understand, how does a person know if he's living with that story, or maybe he's not? How do you know if he created a story around it, around himself, and he's just trying to survive, or maybe he is thriving? How would a person know that? And maybe you could share with us a little bit that you mentioned that you started doing things. I'll mention that everybody knows about the surfing. And then when you found out that it was all a survival strategy, and then you were like, boom.
So it's, so there's ways of knowing. So again, what we call the belief about ourselves, that's called the inner negative belief. And that's all the 60,000 thoughts throughout the day. And then what we do is we cover them up with this external personality that's either fight or flight. We mentioned shy versus, you know, dominating and cool, or the masmid, or the kadosh.
A Rav HaMaksher. You can become a Rav HaMaksher to survive.
Right, exactly. So how you know it's real is how you know it's authentic, like actual genuine, and how you know it's just your bluff, like this move you made, a chess move, is a couple of things. One is how people interact with you, how successful, because this is like literally the key for success. Because when you're burning clean fuel and it's genuine and authentic, people just are so excited to be around you. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed, Coach Menachem, you have a magnetism that's coming from a very genuine place. and
Thank
people
you.
just light up. I walked through Jerusalem with a mask on. Like I just walked through town because I was getting my hairs cut. I call it a hair's cut, Usher, because no one ever got one haircut. So I was walking through town to get my hairs cut on Erev Shabbos. And with my mask, I have not been in public at all, since I flew back. Barely been. I haven't really walked through town during the day, at least. And I'm going through town, and random people are like smiling just from my eyes, are smiling at me. You get that feedback when it's genuine, when it's real. But here's the. You don't have to wait for others. You can just simply realize how exhausted are you at the end of a day. You should be energized. You should be energized when you're generating from clean being, because think about it, those thoughts, those negative beliefs, that's our being, as opposed to the doing, which is the fight and flight, what I do. So there's being and there's doing. And so if my doing is a cover-up for rotten being, so that means all that doing, and ladies and gentlemen, does doing take effort? You bet it takes effort. So you're like putting out all this effort. Well, effort's got to come from some energy. Where's it coming from? Covering up something that's like, it's negative things. And so what happens is you get exhausted. And also I mentioned the holding. You don't know how to drop it. And it's not just, there's micro muscles, all kinds of parts of our body. So you're holding, the immune system's shut down, meaning often catching colds or whatever, generally exhausted, specifically exhausted when you're being called into action by your job or different situations. You find that you're taking more than giving. And I realized one day, and it was only because I would never have discovered any of this, except all that unacceptable attacked my colon. And I literally was lined up for surgery to have my colon removed. I was 33 years old. And the embarrassing thing that happened to me at 10 years old and by the way, it happened in the bathroom. And the crazy thing is that I didn't leave the bathroom for 23 years. That humiliating thing was just a stupid thing. It was just a girl 3 years older walked in the men's bathroom by accident. And for some reason, that was just so humiliating to me. And 23 years later, I stepped out of that bathroom for the first time. And I would never have stepped out of there. I would have stayed in my, because that was when I was 10. By the time I was 11, I was a lead singer, lead guitar player of a band, taught myself how to drive when my parents were asleep. And I just I was life in the fast lane for years. I was the coolest guy ever. When I got to Aish HaTorah, cool. These days, being cool in yeshiva is cool. In those days, 91, being cool in yeshiva was like, it had no currency. It's like trying to buy a Starbucks coffee with a 20 shekel bill. It's like you can't sell it. You can't buy it with 20 shekels in the Starbucks in the JFK. So I had no currency for the first time in my life, because California, surfer is cool. Aish HaTorah in 91, it was not cool. And so I just became a masmid. But then like a few years later, 3 years later, I realized the Hasidic world, that there's a whole other population of Jews that still think I'm a goy. And so the next thing you know, it's just like, boom, 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 boom. Suddenly I'm like a kodesh, like 45-minute shmoneh esrei. Who needs lunch when there's mincha? And right, Usher, who needs lunch when there's mincha? And so I just become this, kodesh guy. And then I get smicha, because like put the cherry on top. And now I can go be a professional attention vampire. While ignoring my wife and kids, I'm flying around the world, God's gift to Kiruv, very close to Rav Noach Weinberg. And I'm just like reaching out, except, ladies and gentlemen, am I giving or taking when I'm teaching a class? Giving or taking? Coach Menachem, which one?
Well, I know it's taking.
It's taking. And when I was playing concerts, I'm playing big concerts, every week, and taking a concert. I'm not giving a concert, I'm taking a concert. And I'm coming out exhausted. And the weak part of our body usually takes it on. And for me, that was the colon. And and I was bearing all the weight in my digestive system. I couldn't eat anything anymore. I mean, by the time I was 33, I couldn't digest nothing. I could digest water. And by the way, I was bubble wrap growing up. I was raised in a mansion in California. Like nothing ever went wrong. You understand? The closest pedophile was like 11 zip codes away. You know, like we lived in the Garden of Eden over there. But it doesn't matter how you grow up. Your fertile mind starts telling you things about yourself. And it like you could be raised in the perfect, like, for example, Coach Menachem shared with us, like he was raised also in his own Garden of Eden over there in the beautiful,
Funny, next week
hills.
Glaser Brody, Garden of Eden. Just happens to be funny.
Oh yeah, right. And anyway, so we have been.
So basically, one second, I just want to
go ahead.
Recap it. So basically, you're saying when you feel like you're exhausted at the end of the day, or you feel like your inner self, you're not simcha, you're not happy, you don't have that energy. It means that you're using all your shades to cover up everything, and it's exhausting, and you feel like you're really not accomplishing. Am I correct? Is that the
That's
summary?
right. And yeah, it's very good summary. And also vibrationally, things you're not getting that siyata d'shmaya. Like
Right.
There's incredible success that's available to the vessel, and that's what we started with, right? When Coach Menachem gave it to me.
Now we got that. Let's take 1 second. All right?
We got that.
Wait, Usher, just make sure we have time for the
Yeah,
meditation.
no, but that's the first part. 1 second. Let me take a live question, and then we're gonna go back to the next step. Okay, put on Jeremy. Jeremy,
Hello.
how are you, Jeremy?
I'm seeing you. I'm not seeing the rabbi. I got to find the rabbi so I can look
Do you
at
know who you are? Do you know who you are?
it. Hopefully. Oh, there you are, Rabbi. Okay. Thank you for taking my question. Okay.
Hit him hard.
There's a lot. There's a lot here. So I've been watching for like I think it's an hour and a half now. There's a lot. So anyway, I have a few things. First of all, you mentioned you're bringing a program to Lakewood. I just want to throw it at you. I checked out your website. I don't see the dates there or
Sure.
information for the introduction. So if you could share it at some point in this
Tomorrow.
program.
We'll send it out tomorrow.
Very good. Perfect.
Okay.
You're saying a lot. I want to go back to what Coach Menachem said in the beginning, and I pretty much quote verbatim. Last week we had Rabbi Rubashkin. He spoke to us about Emunah and Bitachon. This week we're going to have Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser. He's going to, I forgot the exact words, but basically walk us through life, all of the minutes, right? And then I'm going to pause my video. I'm going to look at that flyer. Live the life you've always wanted to live. Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser. And you're throwing out a lot of information, which is awesome. Bring me back to, please, live the life you've always wanted to live. And bring me back to what Coach Menachem said at the beginning. Rabbi Glaser is going to walk us through day to day. I've taken similar programs. I'm stuck in between if you're selling a product here, which I know your product is awesome, or it's like this regular shear that we're used to. And I don't want you to give closing statements because we do that at the end. But I want you to tell me, like, give it to me right here. What am I walking away with, kind of? Because I'm getting a lot, and it's overwhelming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to isolate the question exactly, but and for sure, yeah, and for sure and that when you mention I'm selling something, I am for sure. What I'm selling ultimately is the possible you. Menachem's your first name?
Jeremy.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy. What's your Hebrew name? Yirmiyahu?
Yisrael Yitzchak.
Yisrael Yitzchak. I'm selling the possible you, meaning you, and
yeah.
and
So
that,
I have to. I don't want to interrupt you. I'm a Landmark graduate, so a lot of what you're saying sounds very familiar, and I'm trying to I want to walk away with something, and I'm like, okay, this is very familiar. This is cool, and we cover a lot of ground, and I'm like, okay, like Monday morning, like I'll go to bed now. I'll wake up tomorrow morning. What do we have? That's what I want to get at.
I should have saved you, Jeremy. I should have saved you for the last question because I'm getting into it. We're finally starting to get into it.
yeah, except I'd like to hear you or Menachem tell me what his actual question is, because meaning he keeps saying like, okay, I wake up tomorrow morning, what do I have? But I'm not sure exactly what he's
keep him open for the end. Keep him open so we can hear what he took out, and hopefully we'll fix him up.
Jeremy, stay on. The first thing that you learn, Jeremy, 1 second. The first thing you learn is, do you feel your energy level at the end of the day? Do you feel positive? Do you feel knocked out? Do you feel you have no more energy? Do you feel the positive vibrations? Or do you feel? That's the first question.
Question for me?
For you.
Don't answer it
Dead.
now. We'll come back at the
dead.
end.
No, he wants me to answer dead at the end of the day. Totally wiped out. What's the question?
Okay, good.
Okay. So
No, but I'm trying to differentiate what I would get. I understand he has a program, Rabbi Glaser, right? That's a whole training. I've done trainings. I get it. And then there's like just tonight, like practical applications, like, hey, I think you can do X, Y, and Z. Like, this is what I think is what's up in 2 hours. Because obviously you can't give your whole program in 2 hours, right? So I'm just trying to grasp, and I'm not grasping. That's all. I'm getting a whole bunch of different things, which I've known about stories and trauma and past and parents. And, you know, I know a lot of that. And like, you know, I'm sorry if my question isn't clear.
Yeah, it's okay. So I think I'll say a couple things. Number one is that the default mode network doesn't go down easy. So certainly, as you said very well, Jeremy, that these 2 hours, it's not going to be, it's not going to put down its guard in these 2 hours. All I'm doing in these 2 hours is just kind of putting the prize out that you can live the life you want. And that's what's in the title, is live the life you want. So that I have as the title, because you can live that. But the other thing is that there's a term called integration. And integration means that like, for example, if I hook my phone up to my stereo system in my car with the Bluetooth, so now my phone's now part of that stereo. It's been integrated into the whole system, and it now works that way. Now, when you go to, so going back, now the Possible You works, and like other trainings, only this one's, I'd like to distinguish this from other trainings. But what happens is all trainings where you're doing personal transformation are multi-day in a row. It has to be multi-day in a row, because the only way to get your default mode network to go quiet is to have you not re-fortified each day. See, if it was once a week, you just come back rearmed with your way of being in the world, because we put our way of being into the world. And so we need to have it day after day after day, beretzev. Now there's other issues though, and one of them is there's many people with extreme pain, and so meaning there's a lot of pain inside. And so what happens is often in these large group trainings, there's not the option for that. There's just not the option for the release of that, the emotional toxins. So one of the things that distinguishes the Possible You is we do allow for, the program actually brings you, I don't know if you remember Coach Menachem, some of the intensities in the dark in there, but we do allow for the intense emotional cleansing. And by the way, we've taken that all the way up many notches, because there's I got to myself experience some seminars that worked specifically on the emotional toxins. So I was thinking like, hey, I already got these guys and gals with me for 4 days. Like, we might as well turn up the volume on day 3. And by the way, day 3 is the magic day. Like, for example, in the US government, the CIA, when they're—
Rabbi Glaser, I'm sorry for cutting you off. I'm sorry. I'm just getting a lot of texts. We got to stay on focus, because people are saying that you're all over the place. I want to stay on focus and clear.
No problem. The last thing I want to say is just integration, is that Jews, when you have someone who's an observant Jew training you, and you live in an observant community, and it's all in context, your ability to integrate it later is much higher than if you're going out to some foreign thing, and then you're coming back to your dysfunctional family or whatever it is. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like there's like 2 worlds going on. There's that world over there, and then there's this world. So the eye throughout the Possible You is on integration afterwards. Usher, you got another question?
Menachem is going.
So basically, there could be that successful lawyer out there that went to school for many years, and you're telling him now that all of this could be because of whenever he picked up that he was not enough and didn't feel good about himself, and he decided that he's going to show the world, and he's taking this survival strategy, and he became a big lawyer. and you're going to tell now this lawyer, let me talk to you for a minute. Do you realize that the only reason why you're a lawyer is because you don't feel good about yourself and you're trying to cover it up so to show the world that you're a successful lawyer. So number one, what do you want him to do? Should he stop, or would you tell him this straight out? It's very scary for a person to hear everything he put in for many years and years, koiches, and you're going to tell him now it was all for not really.
It was a cover up. It
Yeah.
was a cover up.
How does that work?
So listen to this. There's an amazing question that comes up if you tell the lawyer that he just he just spent all this time covering up some stupid thing, and who knows, the thing he was saying wasn't even true, by the way. It's an inner negative belief. It's not even true. It's just some belief. So here's the thing is it causes a question in the person, and you'll ask that question automatically since your mics are on, Coach Menachem and Usher. Ask the question. I know exactly what question you're going to ask. If I'm not those stupid beliefs about myself, and therefore, listen, if I'm not the stupid beliefs I say it to myself, and I'm not the cover up that I say to everyone else, what's the obvious question, gentlemen?
Who am I?
By the way, Rabbi Glaser, we got a lot of questions. People are texting. How do I know who I am?
Right. So then you get to this who am I moment. That who am I moment is where you now have the canvas to paint on. Now you can paint something. Now, Coach Menachem asked about lawyers. So in the end, the guy wakes up Monday and goes into the law office. Only all of a sudden he notices that everyone's like coming up to him and saying like, how are you? How's, what's up? How's the family? He's like, why is everyone asking me about my family? Like I've been working with these people for 12 years. No one ever asked me anything about my family. And why am I getting all these how are yous? So the answer is go back to work. See, I learned guitar. I learned that guitar basically that people should think I'm worth having around, that I'm the cool guy. Tell me, should I quit playing guitar? I choose now to play guitar as opposed, meaning I get to do it lishma. Now, everyone listen carefully. There's no reward in the next world for anything that's not done be'emes. It's called olam ha'emes for a reason, because it's only what you do be'emes. In your doing world, only what you do be'emes is what you reap the reward of. And if your whole life is just cover-ups, so then there's no schar there. And the only one who gets any schar is women, because they're always doing kindness all day, raising families, and kindness doesn't require kavanah. Everything else, mitzvahs tzorichas kavanah, and Talmud Torah, all that Torah just stays in this world. If the reason you're a masmi, the dayan, or whatever you are, has been a cover-up. So what I'm ultimately giving people is not just this world, but not I'm giving it, but when I'm facilitating, what I'm facilitating is not just this world, it's the next world. Because now you go back and learn all that Torah, and it actually comes down all pi Kabbala. If you chazer Torah lishma, all the Torah that got locked into this world gets released. Meaning every time you learn that Masechta comes out now. If you go back and review the Masechta lishma, it's something a lot of people don't know. It's a Kabbala. In Kabbala it's taught, and it's a very clear Kabbala.
Is there anything a person could do? Anything a person could do? Let's go down to a little practical. What should a person do? How does he start realizing it and start tweaking, changing? You're telling him not to stop. He should go back to work. But what changes now?
Yeah, just go back to work, but go with clean energy back into law. Now there are people who should shift career, but it's rare. Because there's she'ifas. People there's a ruach devarim in people like this. We don't wind up in our situation. Some people have settled in what they do during their day. There are people who've settled, and they may actually uproot what they do and go do what they're dreaming of, and live a life they dream of. But in the doing. But I would say most people just stick with what they're doing because as Usher asked the question, who are we? Who are we? And people want to know, well, then who am I really? So I discovered 4 things every person is. You want to hear the 4 things? 4 things are, 1 is your neshama. Number 2, the beautiful child personality, which will be part of our meditation, is you get back your beautiful child. Number 3 is everyone has divine settings. You know, Coach Menachem, you didn't randomly wind up Coach Menachem. This is part of your settings, and I have my own settings that are unique. And Usher's got his settings for sure.
Oh boy, do I got my settings.
So these are divine settings, and there's and by the way, Coach Menachem's settings are similar to mine, and we're both. There's actually there's those settings are called, his settings are Chagas, which are Chesed Gevurah Tiferes, and your settings, Usher, are Nehi, are Netzach Hod Yisod settings, and you're a Netzach guy, by the way. And yeah.
Which book should I read that in? Where should I pick that up from?
Good luck, man. It's from years and years of chaburas. What's that?
What does it mean in English, what you just said?
Chaburas, years of chaburas?
No, Netzach. Nehi.
Oh, yeah, Nehi. Well, it's basically, there's Chachma Bina Das, which is intellectuals. Those are called ones because it's the top of your body.
Well, that's
and then there's two. Menachem's a 2. I'm a 2. That's Chesed Gevurah Tiferes, and that's interpersonals. They all begin with I. Intellectuals, interpersonals, and then instinctuals. Like, you're the kind of guy I'd like to drink a shot. Usher, with you, I'd like to drink a shot while eating cholent. Yeah? Okay? So you're a Nehinic. And Nehinics are a blast. All my best friends are Nehinics. And there was actually, one of them was on from Borough Park. I saw him in the corner of my screen. It was like my best friend, and like we love to schmooze together and drink a delicious beer together. And he's a Nehinic. And all my mountain biking and surfing, because I'm a 2-3-1, I'm mostly interpersonal, then I'm instinctual. Coach Menachem, you're a 2-1-3. So you're mostly interpersonal. Then you'd love to get yourself into the ideas, and then you'll eat your cholent, you know, and you're only gonna eat a little. So the point
I want to bring out a point over here, because we're going to get off track. I want to stay on track over here. The point I want to bring is that me, myself, I want to bring myself personally into it, because if I bring myself personally, I could talk to you. I don't care that other 300 people are here. I'm talking about myself. There are times, going back a few months ago, I felt there was so much more I could do internally and be so much more, but I felt like I didn't have the yichaydos, so I didn't even know how to go about it. Okay? So I'm assuming, because I feel like that, of course, the whole world has to feel like that, because everybody feels like me. So if that's the case, people that feel like that, you feel like I'm working in a grocery store, I have a job that pays me $80,000 a year, I barely cover my bills, I have a mediocre marriage, I have mediocre everything, but I feel I have internal koiches, or I know that I could be so much more, I don't know how to attain it. What is a person who has those koiches? How does he first find out, A, what he could attain or what he should attain, and B, how does he start baby steps to actually get there? Talking to me.
So, yeah, I'm talking to you. So Usher, Usher, I'm going to share with you a little secret, and that is that our job is what, and God's job is how.
Okay.
Now, with those kochos, and by the way, we're on that. We were not off track. By the way, I was talking about neshama, then personality, and then kochos and nefesh. Okay, so we're on kochos and nefesh. The fourth, by the way, just to give it, because I never got to the fourth, is of who we are is whoever they need me to be. And that's number 4, is the fun one. I call it the shapeshifter. We're like, oh, the stewardess is too short to close all the overhead compartments before the flight. So who I am is helpful. That's my being. I'm helpful. And then what I do is I close all the compartments for her. I don't just sit there like a rabbi, you know, because everyone else is ignoring her. And I'm noticing that she's just not really reaching this thing. So that's number 4, is the shapeshifter. What we do a mantra in the seminar: whoever God calls me into being, I am. Because God's constantly sending us new challenges that we got to do. But in answer to your question, Usher, we're back to kochos and nefesh, stage 3 of who we are. And that is, I got all these kochos, but I got a mediocre this and a mediocre that and a mediocre everything. And I've got these kochos. So what I said to you was that our job is always what, not how. And all I've got to do is commit to what. All I do is commit to what. Like today, I had a bachelor over today, and he says to me that he's found the girl that he wants to marry, and he's already told her he wants to marry her, but he hasn't asked her to marry her. And I said to him, well, what are you waiting for? And he says, well, you know, I haven't really figured out my Parnes yet, and I'm not sure where I want to live, and a couple other details that are all logisticals. And I said to him, don't you understand? Logistics follow commitments. Logistics is the how. The commitment is the what. Logistics follows commitments. You commit, I promise you, you'll have siyata d'shmaya. That's what we call in the seminar in the possible you is large siyata d'shmaya. LSD is large siyata d'shmaya. You say what you're committed to, and then the siyata d'shmaya starts coming into your life. So my answer for the Mr. Mediocre question is you just commit to something, and go all in. You got to go all in. You got to do the nakshon, ben ami nadav, man. You jump in there, and because God favors committed people. God favors committed people. Our rabbis bring down, Chazal bring down, there's two worlds. There's an olam hateva and there's an olam hapele. Olam hateva is just the natural world. That's where everyone else lives. That's the Mr. Mediocre. Yeah, you work your 10 hours a day in your market. You get your $80,000. You know, it's tit for tat. You this for that. You know, it is a natural life. You know, you work for this, you get that. But then there's called Olam HaPele. You know what the word Pele means? Wonder. Well, Olam HaPele is wonder world. You can live in wonder world. And what's wonder world? Wonder world's where you get all in. You like get fully in and you burn your bridges on the exit. There's no exits. Yeah, I'm getting rid of my exits. I can't get out of this. You want to hear about Siyata D'Shmaya? I live in Yerushalayim in a place called Bate Broide. My makom kavua is, I somehow won getting Rab Zundel Kreuser's makom kavua. So that's my makom kavua in shul. And it's where the old like Perushim, you know, the Nusach Ashkenaz, you know, Yerushalmis are. I can introduce you to Yerushalmi after Yerushalmi after Yerushalmi with, you know, big white beards. I mean, they actually look about 30 years older than they are. And they have married off 14 kids and bought every single one of them a home. And you want to know how they did that? How did they do that? And the answer is commitment. Because when you have 14 kids, you need an exit plan. You know, it's not like the Americans with a 1.2 kid, you know, and you can imagine what the 0.2 kid looks like. And they got their 1.2 kid where their 38-year-old son is still in his baby boy blue room upstairs, you know, with long hair and, you know, pale skin because he hasn't seen the sun, playing video games. You know, like when you have 14 kids, you need an exit plan, man. Those kids are coming in, they're going out too. And because you got to get those kids out, you're fully committed. And when you're fully committed, you are just like going to have siyata d'shmaya.
Let's go back to
low normali.
Question, Menachem. Hishtadlus versus actually doing something. Emunah b'tachon versus hishtadlus. How does that play out in this?
So when I say you decide on the what, you have to make even the smallest moves. You don't have to do much. When you get all behind something, you get all in, and you burn your bridges out. You don't have to actually do much. You can just let it happen. I mean, crazy stuff happens. I just had a full rebranding. That costs like $10,000 to have a full rebranding. Free. I had a free full rebranding. Like that. Boom. It was just siyata d'shmaya. Because I'm so all in. And I'll tell you the truth. I was standing in front of a seminar like a year ago. I'm standing in front of all these guys. Everyone in the room got to share where they're stuck. Not everyone had to share fully, you know. Some people were like, well, I'm stuck in, you know, I'd like to make more money. So, in other words, pass. You know, he didn't want to really share, which is fine. Not everyone has to share. Who has time for everyone to share anyway? So anyway, when it got to me, I said, you know, so I commit to the seminar and everything, and my name's Yom Tov. So anyway, but one of the guys said, where do you want to, like, where are you stuck, Rabbi? And I'm leading the seminar. And so I closed my eyes and I said, you know what? I'll tell you, there's a lot of places I'm stuck, but one place I'm stuck now that I can see I'm stuck is that there's something holding me back. There's some belief inside of me that I'm not going all in when it comes to marketing my seminar. I promise you, I'm only on here right now because of that statement, because of that seminar. And I cried in there in front of everybody, and I'm leading the seminar. But I got in touch with what that was. That was holding me back. And what was the belief about myself and how I was covering it up. And I totally caught it. And I exposed myself in front of the whole group, which is what I'm asking them to do. So who am I to ask them to do this if I'm not going to do it? And the next thing I know, it's like God just squeezed like a giant gallon of lubrication on my career. He just like like dumped a bucket of lube onto my career. And out of nowhere, stuff started happening. And that's how I'm even on this show right now. This is all part of this crazy thing I'm on. Just today, I ran an intro to the Possibly Zoom webinar, which is, by the way, ladies, starts tomorrow, 11 a.m. RabbiYomTov.com. Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
You mean today?
So, yeah. Oh, my day. Yeah, it's sunny out right now. So, anyway, tomorrow at 11 a.m. It's 2 hours a day, 11 to 1, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, and we're going to go into the following week. So I was at an intro today. One of the women who's like found me. She's like, "You just can't believe how I found you online." Anyway, what does she do? She has been running. She told all the women in the group. She said, "I've been running webinars longer than you're alive." Meaning since internet, she's been running webinars. So what's my new career? Webinars. Except, what do I know about running webinars except, whatever I've learned by hook or crook since Corona started. And of course now, the full rebranding, now I've got a woman who's like, this is her bread and butter. And it just keeps happening like that. I just got like the best flyer maker ever out of nowhere, just started sending me flyers. And I'm like, who are you? You hire flyer makers, you don't just like get flyers in your emails that are, he was just like, what's your next event? And I'm like, I just write, on such and such a date, there's going to be a this. And he's like, 2 hours later, another flyer. You couldn't pay the guy. Finally, the manager runs my whole company finally just says, listen, we don't know who you are, but we're paying you. So just like send us your bank details.
Usher, you know what he's talking about. You've had Siyata Deshmaya.
I know.
You don't have to share. You don't have to share. All right, let's go.
Okay, 1 second. Let's do like this. We have another live question. Rabbi Yom Tov, a lot of people asking for the meditation. Everybody wants to try it. Most people here tonight did not try meditation. What? Let's do a live question first. Put it on. Chaya.
Oh, me. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, let me just turn this off here.
Don't worry.
I was wondering, you're talking, about trying to accomplish and do more, but you said a person may feel they lead a mediocre life. Well, it still is a responsible one if they have kids or whatever, they're paying their bills. There's still the things, I'm a little skeptical when someone to do anything in the Siyata D'Shmaya, the doors will magically open. But what about, you get curveballs, things out of left field, somebody is sick, you have, a big, a sudden build.
What about the risks that when you start opening up those doors, you start taking those risks?
Yeah, the risk
that you have.
It doesn't come, I don't think everything just comes easily even with faith. Because you're going to these situations,
Yeah. So Chayasara, I actually recommend to people not to change anything. So I'm totally with you. When we're in the seminar and I've got all these graduates who are like, I call it seminar high. They're all on like seminar high. So I tell all those people.
Doesn't everybody come out of the seminar and quit their job right away? Isn't that the first thing that happens?
Right. I tell them like, no one's getting divorced in the next 2 weeks. No one's getting married no getting engaged, no changing, so Chayasara, you're speaking beautifully. That's exactly very wise what you're sharing. And yes, don't make any big moves on seminar high. What you must do is continue integrating the cleaning out of negativities of how we in our self-talk. You continue cleaning out your negative self-talk, and you really, Chayasara, something very interesting. You really don't have to do much. That's what I was saying before. You don't have too much. You just start seeing things unfold differently all of a sudden. And then that will take you eventually to a totally new place and without being irresponsible whatsoever. So yeah, we are not discussing being irresponsible. We are talking about an organic growth, an organic flow that leads to more and more bracha in your life. Very good question. Yeah. And by the way, I don't like the term mediocre, Usher, because you know what? My Rebbe says that you're allowed to just make a living working in a market. That's cool. Just make sure that you're spending, the off time involved in your dreams. in your dreams. He says, listen, some people learn how to monetize their dreams. I just finished, I have a program called Sundays Live with Rabbi Yom Tov, and don't worry, it doesn't conflict at this time. It's a daytime thing, but it's called Sundays Live. And we just finished the month called Desire, meaning motivating into what you want in life. And this month we just started Love. Amazing. We're doing 5 weeks of Love, which is good for Tu B'Av. The whole month of Av into Elul is going to be Love. And we're really like taking it apart. And I highly suggest joining Sundays Live. It's 2 hours every Sunday. It's a webinar. So what I wanted to say about that is that I was training people how to monetize their dreams. But my Rebbe said that not everyone has to monetize their dreams. You know, you can work in a market and have your dreams on the side, which is perfectly fine. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor and a dentist, you can be cleaning people's teeth all day while still contributing tremendously but you do need to find your contribution. And sadly, so many people don't know what their contribution is. And so that's the kind of work I'm doing in Sundays Live. That webinar is about that.
Rabbi Glaser, a lot of people are texting me. They want to see what meditation is. They never did any meditation. Before you do it, explain us what it is. What are we supposed to be thinking? Let's give it a shot. I want to try it. Are we rock and roll? Tell us what meditation. What's the point? And then let's do it.
Okay. I just want to share just a little bit of logistics if people want more of me. And not everything costs money with me. I'm actually a rabbi who does tons and tons of stuff for free and deal with every kind of crisis. I actually give my WhatsApp number, unlike everyone else, because I've literally, every year I can tell you there's lives people who are alive today because I gave out my WhatsApp number. You know, by the way, my WhatsApp number is plus 972-52834-4664. I am one of the busiest people I know, so make sure it's important. But oh, by the way, my language of love is words. So if you grow from anything I ever did or said, please send that WhatsApp. You never know. I can wake up. I'm a very spiritual person, which means high waves. So you never know. I could be in a trough.
Anybody has any questions? You can email
WhatsApp
or respond to the email. We'll forward it to you, and you can respond back. We'll put them in touch with you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So my email is Rabbi Yom Tov. Rabbi@rabbiyomtov.com. My website's rabbiyomtov.com. And again, my WhatsApp's plus 972-52834-4664. Women's seminar tomorrow. Lakewood seminar. So excited. And the flyer guy sent me a flyer that actually comes, it works while you're looking at the flyer. Stuff starts popping on and stuff. I mean, this guy's super high tech. Anyway, that's in Lakewood, August 30th. Thursday will be an intro for everybody.
The picture, look at the picture.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. So yeah, Muncie's August 23rd to the 27th. Lakewood's August 30th to the 3rd. The location to be announced. I'm working out the location, and there will be I'm going to do a full intro. It'll be men and women invited. The men's and women's seminars are separate. The men's seminars are all day Sunday. Sunday is Shabbos Sheni Shebagalias, and so it's all day Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights it's after all non-work hours, and then the women's seminar is daily. It's going to be 10 a.m. to 4 every day, each day for 4 days. So Monday, Tuesday.
Logistics. Let's talk about meditation. What is it?
Let me get my little meditation device here. So meditation, and the word literally means. Have a party, Hashi. The word meditation means. The word meditation means it means to focus on one thing at a time. Now, what does that mean to focus on one thing at a time? Well, you'll notice that you have a runaway train brain that's not interested at focusing on one thing at a time. As I said earlier, you think 60,000 thoughts an hour. So your runaway brain train is not interested in that, and try to focus on Shemona Esrei. That's a meditation. That is our silent meditation. And we've got out loud meditations, and we've got, there are recorded 26 different types of meditation in Judaism. Anyway, but what meditation means is thinking one thing at a time, and meaning focusing on one thing. Well, What does that mean, focusing on one thing? My brain goes everywhere. So the answer is that I keep bringing it back and bringing it back. See, my mouth's, let's say you're in prayer, my mouth's saying this, my brain's like over there, now it's over there, now it's over there, now it's over there. What is kavana? The word kavana in modern Hebrew means to align. In ancient Hebrew, it means to align. I know we use it as intention, but it literally means to align. Like if I bring my car in to align the wheel, I ask for kavana. You know, I tell the garage guy, please give me kavana, which means align the wheel with the tires. So what is kavanah? It's where my brain, I reel in my brain like some fish. I reel it in to be in line with that which I'm saying with my mouth. That's kavanah. Okay, and that's meditation, is reeling in my brain. Now, in meditation, you may not be saying anything. Like our meditation, I'm going to lead you in. We won't be saying anything.
What should we be thinking?
Well, what your job is. This is it's guided imagery. So I'm going to be guiding you. And now your brain's going to be like, yeah, that's nice. You're going to be guiding me, and I'm going to be thinking about my bills to pay. And by the way, you should give back bills to pay. And your mind's going to be everywhere. But with me, I'll catch you. Don't worry. I know when people are off, off the rails, and I will bring you back to the rails. But again, yeah, people move to India to like learn how to do that. That's not for us. We don't need to spend how long you want to do this meditation, by the way?
Let's go.
I tell you. Oh my gosh, you're
guiding us already. I'm already trans. You tell me.
Yeah, there's really no concept of time when you're in meditation anyway. So who cares how long we're in it? But the point is that I will be reeling you in while to where your self-talk's going to take you out. I will reel you back in.
Should I put on a screen that shows water and calm that we're in process? Are you ready?
No, I've got this. This guitar is going to handle all that. We're going to do a guided imagery meditation. Oh, nice. Oh, beautiful. All you need to do is close your eyes and listen. Perfect. Yeah, you should keep that on for anyone who comes on.
Okay, Rabbi Glaser, 5 minutes.
Just the breathing exercises take more than 5 minutes. But seriously, is there a time?
Let's do 5 minutes. If we could do it in 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
So 5 minutes means I'm not going to take you through the breathing exercises, but what we do is we use our breath. So we start with breath, and we would inhale through the nose, and then hold our breath. So why don't we start already? Everyone close your eyes. Okay, you can turn off your camera if you're worried about sneeze or whatever. My eyes will be closed the whole time though. So close your eyes, and we're going to breathe in through our nose, inhale, and fill your stomach, like expand your stomach, and now hold your breath and allow your eyes to move upward between your eyebrows, meaning your eyes are closed, but it's like you're trying to look between your eyebrows with your breath held. And now slowly release your breath through your mouth as your stomach contracts, pushing the air out of your stomach. And now inhaling through the nose, inhale. Holding the breath, eyes up. And now slowly releasing the breath. We'll do one more. Inhale through the nose, inhale, expanding the stomach, breathing in relaxation. Hold the breath, eyes up. And exhale through the mouth, slowly releasing the air as your stomach contracts, tightening the stomach muscles, pushing the air out. And now when there's no more air in your body, hold for a moment, and now inhale. And now breathing normally. And feel a wave of relaxation move from the top of your head down to your toes. Starting from the top of your head, moving down to your toes. And catch that runaway brain of yours, that runaway train thinking about everything else, and just scan your body as it moves down to your toes. And now on the count of 3, bring yourself to a deeper state of relaxation as the relaxation moves like a wave from your toes to the top of your head. 1, 2, 3. That wave move up your body, and watch your thoughts to make sure you're only focusing on a wave moving up your body to the top of your head. Catch your thoughts. And now imagine yourself inside a garden, beautiful garden. And in that garden is a little footbridge, about a foot over the water. And you're looking at the glassy surface of the water, looking at the blue sky and the reflection of the water. And imagine if you were to drop a pebble into the water and break up that glassy surface. And that would make a circular wave, a beautiful vibrational energy crossing the pond. And that is your beautiful child personality. That's the beautiful child in you. With a beautiful and simple wave crossing the pond, which attracts beautiful and simple, clean interactions. But now, close your right fist, put your both hands on your lap, rest your hands on your lap. Close your right fist and allow inside your right fist to be jagged rocks. Each one is a different limiting belief about yourself, a negative belief. Some of that stuff you'd say about yourself. Not good enough, dumb, unworthy, unwanted, unlovable, small, weak, incapable, hopeless, helpless, lost. Any of those voices you might say. And again, if you're one of the highly successful types, you probably don't even hear it, but I promise you it's there. Now, if you were to throw all 5 of those or 10 of those stones into the water, each one would create a circular wave, but those waves would interfere with each other. And now crossing the pond would be this complex, complicated interference pattern, which attracts complex and complicated interactions, financials, health. But there you are with your right fist clenched, and now clench your left fist. And imagine in your left fist is fish tank gravel, like those little tiny rocks, that you're gonna somehow throw onto the surface of the pond so no one should see those waves crossing the pond. Those are your survival strategies, both fight and flight. And that's either being someone who's running away from things, avoiding, quitting, being shy, shut down, isolating, or the opposite, the fight, being the guy or the gal or the show-off, the know-it-all, or the masmid or the kadosh, or the control freak. Or on flight, you're a Mr. or Miss Independent. I did it my way. And there you are, sitting there with both fists clenched. You look like a boxer. Clench them tight, and you realize the holding that goes on in your body when you're believing those things about yourself. And I want you to hold it tight. Squeeze it tight. And on 3, release your hands. You can let your palms go upward if you want. Like a vessel before God. On 3, release your hands. Hold them real tight now. 1, 2, 3, release. Get in touch with the heartbeat of the beautiful child that is inside of you. We all have a beautiful child inside, that toddler we left behind. Their hearts beating strong, they've been waiting for us. Hold that child. In your mind's eye, hold the child. Never let that beautiful child go. Take a smaller step. Take a deeper breath. Let your motor cool. Gotta bring that car into the shop. Slow down to a crawl as your defenses fall. Feel your soul refuel. Close your right fist again. Everything you thought about yourself. Close your left fist. All that you believe, because you believe your own stuff after a while. Hold it in your hands and let it go. Release your hands again. Be a vessel. Nothing left to fear. Remember those fears. Open to receive. Setting free the child. The beautiful child in you. Do a little dance. Sing a simple song. Laugh so hard you're crying. Chase a butterfly. Climb a mountainside. Once again you're flying. The person of your dreams is coming into view. Nobody can take that dream away. Somebody who trusts, somebody who shares, someone like the child, the beautiful child in you. Whoa, whoa. Close your right fist. Everything you thought. Close your left fist. All that you believed. Hold it in your hands and let it go. Release both hands. You don't have to hold that stuff anymore. Everyone you love. Take a moment, think about your loved ones. How much energy does it take to be close to you? What are people putting up with in tunnel number 4? Think about your loved ones, those beautiful people in your life. Imagine what life would be like with them. Just burning clean fuel. Your exhaust just goes out the back. Where there is no exhaust, you actually pass your emissions test. Everyone you love want you to achieve. They want to meet the child, the beautiful child in you. The beautiful child is you. as you hear the numbers 1 through 5, at 5, you'll open up your eyes. Coming up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, opening up your eyes.
Beautiful.
Spell's lit.
Did you really fall asleep, Usher? Nah, you
I had so many 60,000 thoughts all over the place. I couldn't think straight.
didn't.
Okay, guys.
Oh, so
It's
so
12
I was saying that just Usher, that I share. I have probably close to 500 hours on Torah Anytime of classes, and
meditation.
many nights. What's that?
With meditation.
Some, yeah, very few, very many. I also have on YouTube and Facebook as well, and also many nights I do Ask Rabbi Yom Tov, where you get to ask all your off-colored questions. And then there's the webinars, Sundays live with Rabbi Yom Tov, and the webinars online, and the live seminars coming to you.
So let's go.
Go ahead, Usher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I want to thank Rabbi Yom Tov Glaser coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. All the way from Israel, waking up early morning for us, giving us. I feel like Rabbi Yom Tov, I'm being very honest. I feel like we really, really barely touched the tip of the iceberg. I feel like we,
Concept.
We're gonna have to do like the general concept. I think maybe we got the concept, but I think to really getting into it, we really got to dig in much deeper. But it was very eye opening, and I think everybody here tonight is a little bit mesmerized. What is going on here? I'm completely confused, but at least the awareness is there. And then there's more follow up, obviously, between. I'm sure you clarified with all the follow ups what there is and how they can move to the next level. Again, I want to tell everybody in the program tonight. Next week we have Rabbi Blazer Brody from Israel, discussing very interesting topic. He was one of the authors, the co-authors of the #1 selling book in Jewish America, Jewish world, was Garden of Emunah, and he's discussing. You ready for this? Rabbi Yom Tov, you ready? Ready to be blown away? The topic is Reb Chaim Volozhin's Haftocha, promise on Einod Mavadi. There's nothing in the world besides God. Discussing it in depth. What does that mean? And really, really, it's going to be a really Kabbalistic and deep meaning week next week. So maybe bring your guitar. You'll play on the orchestra. Again, everything tonight is recorded. It's going to be available tomorrow on www.menachembernfeld.com. We have all the programs listed over there. Again, if anybody has any questions, please email coachmenachem@gmail.com. If you have Rabbi Blazer's, you can go to Rabbi Yom Tov, his website, and you can look it up. If not, you can send to Coach Menachem. I'll forward to him. Rabbi Yom Tov, when you have time, please respond. Again, I want to give a special thank you to all our advertising sponsors, the Lakewood School, for always promoting us here in Lakewood. Chazak, Rabbi Yaniv, for always pushing us on their platforms, chazak.org. Please check it out. I'll also give the thanks to Mika Sofer from COL Live for promoting us. And I'll give, again, special thank you to Chayla Kaufman and Shmuel Sofer from JCN, Jewish Content Network, for always promoting us digitally on all the Jewish digital platforms. Coach Menachem, please give a few minutes closing statement, followed by Rabbi Yom Tov.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Yom Tov. This was a good chazara for me. It was a good chazara, and that sounds like I need it again. There's so much information you added, but it's like what Oshi said before. Basic, what we got tonight is the concept, and we're all. I guess everybody's invited to go to the seminar to get the experience. But what I find is that that's what people are a little bit scared of. The concepts, we know, we live in a world that we understand concepts. You can talk about concepts all day. But once you want to go down to that experience, and you hear Yom Tov's deep voice, takes you to a different place, people are not ready for that. And that's why people need to look at their phones and be busy and continue their routine, because it is very hard for them to have that shift. But again, I hope everyone tonight at least will feel something from the seeds planted, and they might after a while say, wow, it probably came from then, this idea of being able to stop and breathe, which today's days I think most people forgot how, and we're running and running and we're not really breathing. And when you talk to them about this, they say, yeah, it sounds good, I'm busy, I gotta go. So thank you again, Rabbi Yom Tov, for the whole thing tonight. So unbelievable. And Oshi, you, and thank you for all the staff and for everybody putting in the koiches again. And Baruch Hashem, the siyata d'shmaya. And Hashem should help you, Rabbi Yom Tov, should continue to help Klal Yisrael to find their inner child and to be able to come closer to Hashem.
Yom Tov, before you go to closing, I just want to tell you, everybody, that Rabbi Yom Tov, at the end of the day, you rock, the bottom line, you rock the house. And I think that just the awareness at the end of the day, as a person, we have to know what our capabilities are. We don't want to live in our self-made, self-proclaimed, story of ours. People have huge potential, and we see from people out there that they utilize their potential. That there's so much growth out there that could be done. And I feel like you told me a comment when you were a kid, you saw a certain guy collecting. Then 25, 30 years later, you see the same guy still collecting. What happened to the past 30 years of his life? Again, it doesn't have to be collecting. I don't mean to pick on that or anything specifically. And I'm not using financial. It could be whether it's your marriage, whether it's your kids, whether it's a certain trend of thought. We're growing people as we get older. We grow more and more. And we have to have that awareness. And obviously, we touched the tip of the iceberg. I do feel like we understood when we feel like we're using our potential, when we have that simcha chaim, when we have the happiness, we feel that unbelievable burst of energy. And people could just be nena ziva shchina, like just seep it off of you. That means a person is living, a person is alive, and a person is doing and accomplishing. And people have it in them. But I feel between all the problems and all the stressors and life's nonstop curveballs, it just, Chaya Sarah said it actually the best. Yeah, Chaya Sarah, you. That when you have all the stressors, it just brings you back and it brings you down. And most people, they go to shul and they go they just live that repetitive lifestyle when they could be so much more. So again, Rabbi Yom Tov, please, in short, at least a takeaway, a divrei chizuk, close it up.
So I'd like to close it up with two things. One is emunim b'tachon. That sadly, this all this stuff we spoke about tonight trumps emunim b'tachon. And like you were saying, that we all get kind of ravaged by life's life happening to us, and with all the emunah b'tachon, we wind up just kind of stuck anyway. And it doesn't really come as a service to us so often. You saw with Corona, it was like, by the way, I only mentioned 3 of the 5 fears, but we mentioned rejection, failure, being controlled by others. There's also unknown and pain and suffering. And you see that people with emunah b'tachon their emunah b'tachon, even though we were dipped in emunah b'tachon from birth, well, you guys were, I wasn't, but if you were dipped in it, you saw that Corona hit and it was like gone. It was gone. The rejection, like all of us suddenly weren't spending our days with the people that actually make us feel like we exist in some kind of social ladder of, that was gone. We don't do what we thought we did for a living, gone. Between our rabbis and the health ministries, it was like every day was like a different instruction and often contradicting the day before, totally out of control. And then the unknowns, still many people are in the unknowns. And the last was physical pain and suffering. I mean, it's like, where's the emunah b'tachon? And so the answer is that the narrative of our lives are stronger than our emunah b'tachon. Our emunah b'tachon is academic compared to what all those inner stuff, all those inner workings that we discussed tonight. They're and what this work does is brings you, it can get all that stuff that, as we were saying, and what Chayasara said well, and Usher again, is all the parts of life that have kind of ravaged us to the point where we're just like, I'm surviving, where you're just surviving, and you're not sensing that siyata d'shmaya or the energy or the health. That when we clean ourselves out, we not only can we be running clean with all that comes with, but you're also your emunah b'tachon that's everything to us as Jews, and our Talmud Torah and everything in our avodas Hashem and our davening and everything that we're just clear to live our lives as Jewish people with because think about it, emunah is rejection and failure. Emunah, like God wants you here, so what rejection are you worried about? Failure, God gives you exactly what you need. Sali kol tzarki, right? He does exactly what we need. That's emunah. And then b'tachon handles out of control, unknown, and pain and suffering, because that covers that. So but our emunah and b'tachon doesn't do nothing when we got those 5 fears. behind, kind of secretly activating behind the scenes. And so we can all get back to that emunah b'tachon. And lastly, I said two things. That was one, and the other that I want to close with is that, and it has to do with Laser Barodi's Eno Movado, which we also speak about in the seminar. Is this whole world we're in a giant video game. I know it seems really real, and there's real stuff happening out there, but it's really, in the end, if you know enough Kabbala, it's all a digital simulation. And why do you think when you say God's one, you don't look at anything? Because you're not supposed to look at the illusion when you're saying the truth, that it's really all one. Enod Mavade, right? Hashem surrounding space and time. Hu HaElokim. He's filling space and time. He's not just the tortilla. He's the rice and beans. Okay, he's surrounding and filling, and so God, who's creating this world from nowhere, from nothing to something, can adjust the system every moment. Every moment, you're not stuck. You're not stuck. We say every morning, he's mechadish b'tuv v'choyim tamid ma'aseh v'reishis. He is creating perpetually at all times ma'aseh v'reishis. We're the ones who are making it old. We're the ones who believe in time. There's no vayehi zman. Where in Bereshis does it say vayehi zman? The only thing we got is that he's perpetually creating this world from something from nothing. And for God to make radical adjustments in your life, he can do so without you even noticing, because he's only creating now and now and now and now and now. The future is conceptual, past conceptual. You can learn from the past, you can plan for the future, but the only thing you've ever experienced is now. And God is creating that now. And you can align yourself in that spirit and ride the wave of Hashem's unfolding from infinite to finite at all times, and literally live in the miraculous. I've been doing it. I've got plenty of people who are doing it. Scott Stone spoke earlier. That guy's living a miraculous life. He's a Ben Torah who's killing it, in every other aspect of his life. Coach Menachem, unbelievable. It's like I have so much nachas from all these people. The famous Shabbos Kerev you've heard of Shabbos Kerev? It's like it's surpassed popular. It's bigger than Project Inspire now in size, and it's those are all my graduates. They sat down together after the Possible You and said, "What are we going to do for Klal Yisrael?" Because we can't expect everyone to have the courage to come do this seminar. And they all sat down and they created Shabbos Kerev, invited all the top, and Coach Menachem, you're coming, man. I'm going to get you in there. They bring all the top personal growth people to the fanciest Hasidic Shabbaton you've ever been. And we're going to turn back the clocks on generations of disassociation, in these communities, that it's enough already. Like we have to inherit our relationship with God in a way that is commensurate with the magical things we know in our Sifrei Sod, our secret books about Hashem's ways, the way of God, the Derech Hashem. That is ours. It's not just some dream that an excited bacher thinks about all night on a Shabbos when he discovers the Ramchal. It is the reality. And what I'm here to do is literally hand people their own inheritance. So thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Glaser, for coming. Everybody, see you next week, 10 o'clock, same time, same place. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Lots of love.